Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight at 6. I'm Sarah Horbacewicz and I'm here with Sierra Clark in your Razorback Red. It's been a big day for the Diamond Hogs. I'm excited.
Absolutely, and it was a big day for them. Like you just said, the Razorbacks came up with the win 4-1 over the North Carolina Tar Heels in the Chapel Hill Regional, which means they need just to win one more game and they're off to the World Series in Omaha, Nebraska. It's been a long time since the Razorbacks have played away from Baum Walker for the Super Regional, almost 10 years, and the Razorbacks have really done well in just keeping that momentum going after that crazy Stillwater Regional they just had. And North Carolina's a pretty good team. They've only lost at home 7 times, well now 8 this season, so Arkansas is doing a really good job of keeping it together, and so they just need to hold on and win one more.
And just wait for tomorrow now.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm excited. A lot to look forward to. Sierra will have more information for you in just a little bit. But for now, we're going to check in on that forecast. Corrales, what do you got for us?
I got some hot temperatures for you guys. So we are already starting to see our first heat alerts of the season. We are expecting to be dealing with some dangerously hot temperatures through the weekend and through much of next week. And for the time being, here's the latest of what we're seeing. Heat advisories for much of the state. We have in place for your Sunday afternoon, where heat index values are likely to exceed 105, possibly 110 for some spots. So make sure to really pace yourself outdoors and find ways to stay cool through the next several days. We were pretty warm today, some spots more than others, especially with some of the humidity in place. We saw triple-digit heat index values for a few locations, and a few spots did see a few heat advisories across the state today. But it's going to be much more widespread for tomorrow and for the next several days. Here's a check at your hour-by-hour forecast this evening. A few clouds here or there will be increasing in the overnight hours, but otherwise we have a warm night in store and much hotter days ahead. So more details are in the forecast coming up.
As politicians continue to debate legislation in response to recent mass shootings, today tens of thousands of Americans took to the streets to once again march for their lives, hoping to pressure Congress for strict gun control. March for Our Lives event started back in 2018 after the massacre at a high school in Parkland, Florida. Following that school shooting, Florida's then Republican-controlled government enacted sweeping gun reforms. Ralliers today are hoping for similar change to come nationwide.
If you look at where the American people are on this, there is such strong support for universal background checks, such strong support for red flag laws.
This week, the Democratic-leaning U.S. House passed a series of gun control measures, but those are not expected to pass the evenly divided Senate. Negotiations are, however, expected to continue on a few specific reforms. And some of those marchers made their voice heard right here at home today. Dozens gathered in Little Rock to join in the March for Our Lives protests. Tonight, THV 11's Frederick Price shares how demonstrators hope the call for change in Arkansas continues long after today's march.
Yeah, hundreds of Arkansans marched down Capitol Avenue Saturday morning, joining the thousands across the country who are rallying for an end to the gun insanity that is plaguing so many communities across this country.
Their message is clear.
This is what democracy looks like.
We've had enough of the gun violence. We've had too many funerals.
Demonstrators like Linda Whitworth Reed gathered on the steps of the Capitol calling for common sense gun laws.
Raise gun ownership, especially for rifles and assault guns, to 21.
Dozens here chanting reform like a waiting period, full background checks, and regulation on ghost guns.
Red flag laws.
Greg Giuffria is a supporter of the Second Amendment. He says there is not a gun violence problem, but a criminal problem.
If we could snap our fingers and all the guns were to disappear overnight, there would still be murders. There would still be violence.
In response to recent massacres in Buffalo, New York, and Uvalde, Texas, the House passed a bill reinforcing gun laws, a bill likely to fail in the Senate. A gun is a tool, he says, and that new gun reform could be risky.
If they had personal experience at the hands of somebody that shows no mercy, they would not be so quick to give up their ability to fight back.
Mass shootings account for 1%.
Not all the demonstrators who spoke Saturday agree with him, but each wanted their frustration to be heard.
Unifying the voices of the crowd, of stating what was probably on everyone's minds and hearts.
Now Jackie Walschlager, one of the organizers, says it's time for people to turn their anger into action.
We want people to be there at the polls, but we want for people to leave here today and immediately get plugged in.
In Little Rock, Frederick Price, THV 11 News.
Thank you, Frederick. Now, there were more than 450 rallies across the country today, with Washington, D.C. reportedly being the largest. Marchers today say gun reform action is long overdue. Now, there's new data behind the high price pain that we're all feeling. A new report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that inflation has shot up to 8.6%. That's the highest since 1981. Milk is up almost 16%, and egg prices climbed 32%. Hoping to ease these price hikes, the Federal Reserve is expected to once again raise interest rates next week, but it could be a while before consumers see that relief. And high gas prices is one of the top concerns for a lot of us right now. And many of you may have seen that some of the stations here in central Arkansas are offering ethanol gas at a fraction of the price of regular. So can you use that to catch a little break? THV 11's Ian Russell has the answer.
I don't know about you all, but I am sick and tired of these high gas prices. I know a lot of you out there are probably feeling the same way. And some of you are probably looking at that ethanol handle and thinking, man, maybe I could use this as well. Well, mechanics tell me you could use this, but it's really not the best idea. At Coleman & Son Automotive in Little Rock, owner Dorian Coleman knows his way around a car.
Normally they come in for automotive repairs. That means you're leaking something, smelling something, or having some type of drivability issue.
And he sees all sorts of issues. One thing he sees occasionally can seem small, but it can cause some major headaches down the road.
And not in a lot of vehicles. Normally about 10% of vehicles made have flex fuel.
He's talking ethanol fuel. There's not many places that even sell it around central Arkansas, but there's a noticeable difference in price. Gas is so expensive right now.
They too high, they way too high. They need to get cut down.
And you might be thinking of putting it in your car to save some money, but
those prices might be cheap today, but in the future they can cost you thousands of dollars.
Your car will tell you pretty blatantly what kind of fuel it can take. Usually it's on the gas cap or right next to it.
It's important to look at those labels or either check that owner's manual.
If you drive a car that can use that ethanol fuel, don't worry. Experts say you probably won't see any issues like what we've seen with regular gas.
I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I mean, we've got plenty of corn out there, and supply is probably not going to be an issue in terms of getting ethanol.
Back at Coleman & Son, and Coleman says he gets that prices at the pump might have you thinking for ways to save. He says you don't have to risk your engine by using something it's not supposed to have, though. There's much simpler ways to save.
But the main thing to save gas is tire pressure, air filters, and you want to make sure you don't accelerate real fast. Driving fast does create more gas usage.
In Little Rock, Ian Russell, THV 11 News.
Coleman says you can also tell just by the color of the gas cap. If it's yellow, then it should be rated for ethanol fuel. All right, but let's take a look at those gas prices across the state right now. Today, the average in Arkansas is $4.53 a gallon. That's according to AAA. It's up 17 cents in the past week and up 55 cents from just a month ago. As you can see by this chart, Central Arkansas in blue is paying the least for gas in the state, with the southern part of the state, specifically Southwest, paying the most. In some parts, that's pushing as high as $4.78. Nonprofits are also feeling the effects of inflation. The Women and Children First Domestic Violence Shelter has been struggling with donation items. So BJ's Brewhouse decided to help host a donation drive today.
Donations have changed and giving has changed. And so with things being more expensive, access to things not being what it was, we're struggling just like everyone else is. So again, these types of things are imperative.
If you missed today's event and still want to help donate items to the shelter, we have a list of everything they need on our website at thv11.com. And we want to take a moment to recognize some of Arkansas service members tonight. Some local families of military men and women are sitting at home as their loved ones head out to serve our country. National Guard soldiers left for a deployment to Southwest Asia this afternoon from Camp Robinson. Military authorities tell us that the soldiers will be away for 9 months. And while they're away, they'll be providing support and security for medical evacuations. We wish them well. And while it might be hot outside this weekend, you might want to put on some sunscreen and brave it, because this weekend you can fish anywhere in Arkansas all for free. Yep, you heard that right. All weekend, residents and non-residents can fish without fishing licenses or trout permits. This annual event is promoted by the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission to let anyone enjoy the amazing fishing that Arkansas has to offer.
Just atmosphere and just getting out and just spending some time together, you know.
If you plan on catching the big one this weekend, you have until midnight tomorrow. Still ahead, many people are looking for plant-based products that could soon include honey. More on bee-free honey when the news returns.
And just like what we mentioned, there's a lot of outdoors events for this weekend. You're going to want to pace yourself outdoors and find ways to stay cool and hydrated. We're seeing our first heat alerts of the season. I'll be talking about that in your forecast coming up.